Ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, even though you didn't do much? You were just talking, or maybe hanging out, but something about that person left you exhausted. Sound familiar? You might be dealing with someone who's unknowingly or knowingly draining your energy. It's tough to spot at first, but trust me, if you don't address it, the effects can be overwhelming. Today, we're exploring 10 red flags that someone might be draining your energy. And once you see them, you'll be able to take control of your peace of mind. And once you see them, you'll be able to take control of your peace of mind. Today, we're talking about something we all experience but often overlook: people who drain our energy. We've all had those moments when we spend time with someone and walk away feeling more exhausted than when we started. Maybe it's a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. You don't even realize it at first, but after a while you start feeling off. Your mood drops, your energy fades, and you can't help but wonder, why do I feel this way? Well, it's not just in your head. Some people, whether knowingly or unknowingly, can leave us emotionally drained. And it's not always obvious. In fact, it can be hard to spot the signs when you're in the middle of it. That's where the Stoics can help. One of their key teachings is the importance of being mindful of who and what we allow to influence our energy. They taught that while we can't control others, we do have full control over our response and our environment. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you liked the video, so that you can help me continue spreading Stoic philosophy. If you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do so and activate the bell, so you don't miss any future videos on Stoicism. So, today, we'll break down 10 red flags that someone might be draining your energy and how you can recognize them. Because the first step to protecting your peace is understanding the problem. Let's jump in, because your energy is too valuable to waste. Number 1, they constantly complain without action. Let's start with the first red flag, when someone is always complaining about their life but never takes any steps to fix it. Have you ever experienced that? You know, the person who constantly vents about their job, their relationships, or their personal struggles, but no matter how much time passes, they're stuck in the same situation. It's like they're stuck in a loop of negativity, and somehow you find yourself pulled right into it. You listen because you care, and maybe you even offer some solutions. You suggest, have you tried looking for a new job? Or maybe it's time to set some boundaries with that person. But instead of considering the advice, they just brush it off. They'll tell you why it wouldn't work, why it's too difficult, or even worse, just continue complaining without any intention of changing. And here's where it gets tricky. The problem never gets solved, but their emotional energy just keeps draining yours. I know it's tough because, at first, you think you're being a good friend or a supportive person. You're there, trying to help, but it feels like you're just throwing your energy into a black hole. Every time you offer a solution, it's dismissed with a sigh or an excuse. It's exhausting. You're giving your time, your patience, and your emotional energy, but it's like they're taking more than they're giving. You feel drained, and after a while it starts to feel unfair. This might be hard to hear, but according to the Stoics, we have the power to control where we invest our energy. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." So, if you find yourself in a situation where someone is constantly complaining but unwilling to take action, it's time to reassess. You can't force change on someone, and you shouldn't carry the weight of their unhappiness. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control others, we can control how much energy we give them. You are not obligated to let someone drain your peace just because they're unwilling to help themselves. Here's a tip. Next time this happens, gently encourage them to take small steps toward change. If they resist or deflect, it might be time to draw a boundary. Your energy is valuable, and the Stoic mindset reminds us to protect it. By taking control of where you focus your attention and support, you'll find your peace returning. So, how do you handle someone who constantly complains but never acts? Are you ready to start protecting your energy? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences. Number 2, they make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. Let's talk about another red flag. When someone makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries. Have you ever noticed this? You try to take care of your own needs, prioritize your personal time, or simply say no to a request, and suddenly you're the bad guy. It's like your boundaries don't matter to them, and their immediate reaction is to guilt trip you. Suddenly you feel selfish, as if setting limits is some kind of crime. I'm sure you've been there, right? You say no to a favor, or you ask for some space, and the response is shockingly offensive. It's as if you're the one in the wrong for protecting your time, your peace, and your well-being. It's not just uncomfortable, it's emotionally manipulative. They make you feel like you owe them, as if you should be available at all times for their needs, even at the expense of your own. But here's the truth, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for maintaining your mental and emotional health. And when someone tries to make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself, that's a major red flag. It's an unhealthy dynamic that can quickly drain you. You deserve to take care of yourself without apologizing for it. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-respect and clear boundaries. As Epictetus wisely said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. When you honor your needs, you're not only showing respect for yourself, but you're also creating space for others to respect you as well. Think about it. If you're always saying yes to others at the expense of your own peace, where does that leave you? Over time, you might feel worn out, bitter, or even resentful. The Stoics remind us that we control our actions, and when we respect ourselves enough to set boundaries, we also teach others how to treat us. Your time, energy, and peace are valuable, and no one has the right to make you feel guilty for protecting them. So, the next time someone tries to guilt trip you for setting boundaries, remember, it's okay to say no. In fact, it's essential for your well-being. You don't owe anyone an explanation for taking care of yourself. Practice this, and you'll notice how much more respect you get from others and from yourself. Have you ever had someone try to guilt trip you for setting boundaries? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've navigated this tough situation. Number 3, they are always negative, even about the good things. Here's a tough one. When someone can't celebrate the good things happening in your life without adding a negative twist. Have you ever shared a big win? Maybe you landed a promotion, finally finished a huge project, or even just made some personal progress. And instead of celebrating with you, they immediately find something wrong with it. Maybe they question if it's going to last, or tell you to be careful, as if your happiness isn't allowed to exist without a cautionary tale attached to it. It's frustrating, isn't it? You're excited, you're proud, but then, boom, comes the negative comment that suddenly makes you second-guess yourself. That's great, but, or be careful, you know how things can go wrong. Instead of basking in your achievement, you're left questioning your joy, wondering if it's really as great as you thought. It's as if their negativity isn't just a trait, but a force that saps your enthusiasm, leaving you wondering if you even have the right to be happy. This can be incredibly draining over time. If you're constantly sharing your wins with someone who always finds a way to downplay them, your victories begin to feel less significant. You may even stop sharing good news with them because you expect the same reaction. And here's the problem. When someone constantly puts a negative spin on everything, they not only damage your joy in the moment, they can make you start second-guessing your own happiness. The Stoics had a powerful way of handling this. Marcus Aurelius often spoke about not letting the opinions of others sway us from our own path. He said, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." When someone negative tries to bring you down, remember that their opinions are just that, opinions. They don't define your truth or the reality of your success. You are allowed to be happy. You are allowed to feel proud of your progress. Life is full of ups and downs, but it's important to celebrate the wins, big or small, without letting others take away that joy. Don't let their fears or doubts overshadow your own growth. So next time someone tries to dampen your excitement, remember to guard your joy. It's okay to let your achievements shine and not let the negativity of others dim that light. And if they can't be happy for you, maybe it's time to reconsider how much space you give them in your life. Have you ever had someone take the joy out of your success? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. Number 4, they lack empathy and only talk about themselves. Here's a big one. When someone constantly lacks empathy and always turns the conversation back to themselves. Have you ever had those moments where you've spent hours listening to someone talk about their problems, their struggles, their triumphs, and then, when it's your turn to share something important, they brush it off like it doesn't matter? Suddenly, you're cut off, or the topic is quickly changed to something about them. You might even try again, only to realize that every conversation feels like a one-way street. It's exhausting, isn't it? You listen to their highs and lows, offer your support, but when you need a little understanding or just a space to vent, it's like you're invisible. Your feelings don't seem to matter as much, and it leaves you feeling emotionally drained, as if you've been giving and giving without receiving any emotional connection in return. Every conversation becomes about them, what they're going through, what they're dealing with, or what they're celebrating. And as much as you care about them, this imbalance can feel isolating. You start to question if they truly care about how you're doing, or if they just want an audience to listen to their story without ever making space for yours. This kind of emotional imbalance can wear you down in ways you don't even realize at first. At first you think maybe it's just a phase, or maybe they're just having a rough time. But when it becomes a pattern, it's clear that the emotional exchange you need from them isn't there. The Stoics teach us a lot about empathy and emotional balance. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." When someone continually talks about themselves without acknowledging your feelings, they miss the point of human connection, the exchange of empathy and support. Real relationships are built on a balance of give and take. If you're constantly giving but never receiving, you start to lose energy, and eventually you lose the motivation to keep giving. If you're dealing with someone who's emotionally unavailable or self-absorbed, it's essential to set boundaries. You deserve to have your feelings heard and acknowledged too. You deserve empathy just as much as they do. And it's okay to step away from one-sided relationships that leave you feeling drained. So ask yourself, are you in a relationship where your needs are being heard, or are you just an emotional sounding board? Let me know in the comments. Have you ever experienced this? How did you handle it? Number 5. They keep draining your time without giving anything back. This is another obvious one. People who constantly drain your time but never offer anything in return. We've all been there. Those friends, family members, or colleagues who always seem to need something from you. Whether it's a favor, your attention, or your energy, they're quick to ask for your time. But when it's your turn to ask for something, anything, they're too busy, caught up, or suddenly unreachable. It's frustrating, right? At first, it feels like just a small thing. You help them out because they seem to need it, and you want to be supportive. But over time, this starts to build up. You're constantly the one giving, the one making sacrifices, while they take and take, never offering a little help, understanding, or support in return. This one-sided relationship starts to wear you down, leaving you feeling exhausted and drained. The thing is, time is one of the most valuable resources we have. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. So when someone keeps demanding your time without contributing anything of value, whether it's emotional support, appreciation, or even just a moment of their time in return, it feels like they're disrespecting not just your time, but you as a person. You start to realize that you're giving and giving while they just keep taking. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where you're the one dropping everything to help someone, but when you need a favor, they're nowhere to be found? That's a major red flag. It's like they're not interested in a mutual relationship. They just want to take, and it's up to you to keep the balance going. From a Stoic perspective, Marcus Aurelius reminds us that time is a thing that can't be recovered. We should be mindful of how we spend it. If you keep giving your time away without receiving anything in return, you're not honoring your own boundaries or your own value. You're essentially allowing someone to drain you emotionally and mentally, which can leave you feeling burnt out. Setting boundaries is key here. Recognize that your time is precious and that your energy deserves to be respected. You're not a resource for others to consume at will. It's okay to say no when someone asks for your time and energy, especially if they've consistently shown that they're not willing to do the same for you. So here's the takeaway. Ask yourself if the relationships in your life are balanced. Are you constantly giving while the other person just takes? And more importantly, how does it make you feel? Sometimes the most important thing you can do for yourself is to reclaim your time and not feel guilty about it. Have you ever been in this type of relationship? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Number 6, they constantly ask for help but never change. This one's a tough one. Have you ever noticed someone who keeps asking for your help, but no matter how much you give, they never seem to change? It's like you're stuck in this endless cycle where they come to you with the same problems again and again. You offer advice, support, and even a shoulder to lean on. But no matter how much effort you put in, they keep making the same mistakes over and over. It's frustrating, right? You're giving them your time, your emotional energy, and your wisdom, but they don't seem to learn or grow. They ask for help, but they don't actually want to change. They're not taking responsibility for their actions or learning from the lessons you've shared. It's exhausting. You start feeling like you're stuck in a loop where nothing ever gets better, no progress is made, and all your efforts feel wasted. Maybe you've been there, offering solutions, giving advice, and doing your best to help them move forward. But instead of making strides, they remain stagnant. And the worst part? They don't even seem to care enough to try applying what you've taught them. It's as if your support is just a temporary fix, and then it's back to square one. And in the meantime, you're left feeling drained, like you're constantly giving, but never receiving anything back. Here's the kicker. This type of dynamic is emotionally exhausting. You begin to question whether you're actually helping or if you're just enabling their lack of growth. The truth is, if someone isn't willing to take responsibility for their own actions and work on themselves, there's only so much you can do. You can give advice until you're blue in the face, but they have to be the ones to put it into practice. This brings us to a powerful Stoic principle. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." And what's the lesson here? Listening to others' struggles is important, but equally important is ensuring they are actively working on the solutions. If they aren't putting in the effort, your time and energy are better spent elsewhere. You can't carry someone else's load for them. So what's the solution here? It's about setting boundaries and being clear on your role. You can help someone, but you can't do the work for them. If you keep helping, but they never show any sign of change, it might be time to take a step back. Protect your emotional energy and recognize that your support is valuable, but it's only truly helpful if they're willing to meet you halfway. Have you ever found yourself in this cycle? How did you handle it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. Number 7, they only contact you when they need something. This one's an easy red flag to spot, but it can still sting when you realize it. People who only reach out when they need something. Have you ever had someone who doesn't bother to check in or ask about your life, but as soon as they need a favor or some kind of help, suddenly they're texting or calling? It's like you're just an afterthought until they need something from you. I'm sure you've experienced it. People who go silent when everything's fine in their life, but the moment they hit a rough patch or need a hand with something, they're there, knocking on your door. You never hear from them unless they need something. And when you need support, when you just want someone to talk to, guess what? They're nowhere to be found. It's like being a convenience store for them, only open when they need something and closed the rest of the time. And let's be real, that's draining. It's exhausting to constantly be the person they turn to, only to feel like you're not even on their radar when things are going well in your life. It can leave you feeling used and unappreciated, because when it's your turn to need something, they're nowhere to be found. Now here's the tough truth. This dynamic isn't just one-sided, it's emotionally depleting. You're always there for them, offering support and time, but when the tables are turned, it's like you're invisible. The fact is, a healthy relationship, whether it's with a friend, partner, or colleague, should be about balance. It's about give and take. But when you're always giving and never receiving, it can leave you feeling empty and unimportant. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "True love is not about asking for favors, it's about sharing in the good and bad equally." That's the key, sharing in each other's lives, both the good moments and the struggles. If someone is only reaching out when they want something, that's a clear sign that they're not interested in true connection. They're only interested in what you can do for them. So, what can you do? The best approach is to recognize this pattern early and protect your time and emotional energy. Don't be afraid to set boundaries. It's okay to help someone, but it's equally important to make sure they're willing to offer support when you need it too. Relationships should be reciprocal. If they're only coming around when they need something, it's time to reassess the value of that connection. Have you experienced this in your own life? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Number 8, they are emotionally unpredictable. Here's another red flag that's tough to deal with: emotional unpredictability. One minute they're fine, and the next they're upset or angry for no clear reason. It feels like their mood is constantly shifting, like riding an emotional roller coaster that you never signed up for. You've probably experienced this, right? You're just going about your day, and suddenly, out of nowhere, they're upset. Maybe it's something small, maybe it's nothing at all, but it feels like you're caught in the storm of their mood swings. One moment, everything's calm, and the next, you're trying to figure out what went wrong and how to make things right, without even knowing what caused the shift in the first place. It becomes mentally exhausting. You're constantly trying to read their mood, tiptoe around, and figure out how to handle the emotional landmine that is their emotional state. And here's the thing, the unpredictability of it all can really drain you over time. It's like walking on eggshells, always wondering if the next step will trigger an emotional storm. Think about it. When someone's moods shift like this, it forces you to be hyper-aware of every little word you say or action you take. You start adjusting your behavior to manage their emotions, which takes away from your own peace of mind. Eventually, you realize you're spending more energy trying to navigate their mood swings than you are living your own life. Now, this isn't just about walking on eggshells. It's about emotional exhaustion. Constantly being at the mercy of someone's unpredictable emotional state can erode your mental energy, leaving you feeling drained. It can also make you question your own emotions. You might start second-guessing yourself, wondering if you're doing something wrong or if it's even possible to please them. It's a cycle that's hard to break. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is where Stoicism offers a crucial lesson. You can't control someone else's emotional roller coaster, but you do have control over how you respond. It's important to set boundaries and protect your own emotional state. Instead of getting caught up in their unpredictable moods, take a step back and center yourself. Remember, your peace of mind is just as important as theirs. Have you dealt with someone who is emotionally unpredictable? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear how you've managed situations like this. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Number 9, They don't respect your time or priorities. This one's a real challenge. When someone doesn't respect your time or your priorities, it's tough when you feel like your time is constantly being hijacked by someone who doesn't consider your needs, your schedule, or your own goals. They ask for your attention at the worst times, or worse, they completely disregard what's important to you. You've probably been there, caught in the middle of a busy workday, or focused on something that really matters to you, when suddenly you get a call or a message. It's them. They need something. It doesn't matter that you're in the middle of something important. Your time, your priorities don't seem to matter at all. They expect you to drop everything, to rearrange your world to fit theirs. And honestly, it can be really frustrating. It's not just the inconvenience of the timing, it's the underlying message. They don't value your time. When someone repeatedly interrupts your work or demands attention without consideration for what you're doing, it's a clear sign that they're putting their needs above yours. And over time, this dynamic can wear you down. You start sacrificing your own priorities just to accommodate theirs, and that's a fast track to burnout. Think about it. Every time you drop what you're doing to cater to someone else, you're teaching them that your time isn't important. And while it may feel like you're being a good friend, a supportive colleague, or a helpful partner, deep down, you're left with the feeling that your own goals and tasks don't matter as much. I'm sure you've felt the frustration of having to put your work on pause for something that could have waited. And when that happens over and over again, you start to question, why aren't your needs being respected? This is where Stoicism offers us a valuable insight. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't waste time on what you cannot control." When someone disrespects your time, you can't control their actions, but you can control how you respond. This is a powerful reminder that we have the ability to set boundaries, to stand firm in our own priorities, and to manage our time wisely. It's okay to say no. It's okay to let people know that you have commitments that require your attention. And it's okay to protect your time, just like you would protect your space, your peace, and your well-being. By doing this, you're not only respecting your own needs, but teaching others to do the same. Have you ever experienced someone disrespecting your time? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Number 10, they make you feel like you're never enough. And finally, perhaps the most emotionally draining red flag, when someone makes you feel like you're never enough, no matter how much you give. It's like no matter what you do, it's never quite right, never quite enough. You give them your time, your energy, your love, but somehow it always feels like it's not appreciated. How many times have you poured yourself into a relationship, doing everything you can to support them, to show that you care, and yet you feel like they still want more? They always want you to be better, do more, or somehow improve in ways you don't even understand. It's exhausting. When this happens, you start to question yourself. You begin thinking, what more can I possibly do? Am I not enough? Why isn't anything I do ever enough for them? And that's where the emotional drain kicks in. You start feeling empty, like you're constantly running on empty, doing your best, but always falling short. This kind of emotional exhaustion can wear you down over time. It's like running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away, and no matter how hard you try, you never seem to reach it. You start to doubt your own worth, wondering if you'll ever be good enough. And that kind of pressure is not only unfair, it's unsustainable. It leaves you feeling small, insignificant, and undervalued. I know how painful it can feel when you realize that someone you care about doesn't appreciate what you do. It's like they're always looking for more, but they never acknowledge what you've already given. And eventually, it starts to hurt, not just emotionally, but in the deepest part of your self-worth. This is where Stoicism teaches us an important lesson. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is your opportunity to take a step back and recognize that their inability to appreciate you is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of them. You are enough, just as you are. The truth is, when you give without being appreciated, it's a sign that the relationship needs recalibration. You have every right to expect respect, appreciation, and acknowledgement for your efforts. And when you don't get that, it's time to reassess the relationship and protect your emotional well-being. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself feeling like you're never enough for someone? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. All right, now let's get to the key moment. This is where everything comes together. So, what can you do when you realize someone is draining your energy in all these ways? How do you break free from the cycle of feeling undervalued, used, and emotionally exhausted? The first thing is to recognize that you are in control of how much you give. You're not obligated to carry someone else's emotional weight or make up for their lack of effort. It's perfectly okay to protect your peace. You don't have to feel guilty about setting boundaries, even with people you care about. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." What this means is that while you can't always control others' actions or moods, you have full control over how you respond to them. If someone's constant neediness or emotional unpredictability is wearing you down, it's time to step back and prioritize your well-being. I know, it's not always easy. There might be guilt, frustration, or fear of confrontation. But here's the empowering part. You have the right to say no, and doing so doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who values their own energy and emotional health. So take a moment and ask yourself, are you letting someone's lack of respect for your time or boundaries continue to drain you? Are you holding on to relationships that no longer serve you? The Stoics remind us that life is too short to waste on things that don't contribute to our peace. It's time to reclaim your peace, your energy, and your sense of self-worth. Start today by setting that first boundary. No guilt, just clarity. Your energy is precious, and it's time to protect it. So, to wrap things up, let's recap what we've learned today. You've learned how to spot the red flags of emotionally draining relationships, those who only reach out when they need something, who make you feel like you're never enough, or who constantly keep you on an emotional roller coaster. Recognizing these behaviors is the first step toward protecting your emotional energy. Now remember, this isn't about cutting people off completely or building walls around yourself. It's about setting healthy boundaries. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You have the power to decide how much of your energy and time you give to others, and you have the right to protect your peace. It's not easy, I know. It can feel overwhelming at first. But take it one step at a time. Start by recognizing your worth and practicing self-compassion. When you establish those boundaries, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're also teaching others how to treat you with respect. You have the power to change your situation. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're not enough, because you are. Your time, energy, and emotional well-being are yours to protect, and with the right mindset, you can create healthier, more fulfilling relationships. So take a deep breath, and remember that the challenge is manageable. With patience, self-respect, and a bit of Stoic wisdom, you can reclaim your peace and start living a more balanced, empowered life. Keep moving forward. Your well-being is worth it. If you've ever felt drained by people who don't respect your time or make you feel like you're never enough, I want to hear from you. Share your experience in the comments below. Let's create a conversation about setting healthy boundaries and protecting our peace. Remember, as the Stoics remind us, we can't control others, but we can control how we respond. So, let's build a community where we support each other in staying true to ourselves. If you're ready to start taking back your energy, hit that like button and join the conversation. Together, we can create a space of respect, understanding, and emotional balance.